Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Click to Buy, the show where we ask ecom experts for their best advice to help you turn clicks into customers. I'm your host Becca from Instant Page Builder, and today's guest is Tobias Hansson. Tobias is the ecom manager at PopHouse Entertainment and was recently nominated for E-commerce Manager of the Year. He's the driving force behind the incredible launch of ABBA The Museum's new global webshop, which has not only deepened the connection between fans and ABBA, but has also earned prestigious awards like the A Awards Honorable Mention for Site of the Month and Site of the Day at E-commerce Design Awards. With a passion for innovation, customer experience, and sustainable development in e-com, Tobias is setting new standards in the industry. Today, we'll dive into the story behind the ABBA The Museum's webshop, its exceptional design and functionality, and his top tips for e-com brands like yours looking to elevate their online presence. We'll have nothing else to say except Tobias, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, what an intro. I love that.
Well, you can always listen back if you need a little pep talk.
Yes.
Sometimes it's good to listen back to what we've done.
Yeah, just to have it on repeat my every day in the office.
Well, of course, I know a little bit about you because I've prepped this podcast, but maybe you could share a little bit for our audience about your background. Like, how did you become an ecom manager at PopHouse Entertainment?
Yeah, that's been a long journey. I actually started off my career in the music and media industries.
Hmm.
So I did a lot of content creation, exploring my passion for storytelling and TV and film, and just connecting with different audiences, I would say. So over the years I transformed into e-commerce first with my own company. I was selling books on a Swedish platform called Ticktail that actually Shopify bought. I don't know if you remember. And
No.
then I sold plans online actually for 3 years. So maybe a lot of e-commerce people are more of a sales background, but I would say I'm more from the creative music entertainment background.
I love that, especially how you've turned something you're passionate about into a career, and you've also seen what it takes behind the scenes to have a platform from your previous experience on Shopify.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say like running my own companies for
Hmm.
17 years in total. I mean, you get your hands dirty all the time. You get to learn so many different side of the business and both operations and strategic. So I think like being an e-commerce manager is also a bit the same because you do
Hmm.
so many things and you need to have like a wide perspective of things. Yeah, so that's how I started. And
Hmm.
along the way at Popeyes, I worked with a lot of diverse projects with Avicii, Space, a gaming center, Pippi Longstrump at Circus, a theater show, and of course, ABBA The Museum.
Absolutely. And I know you were recently nominated for E-commerce Manager of the Year after having worked on all these sorts of projects. What does that nomination and recognition kind of mean to you?
I mean, I was very, very happy
Hmm.
and also humbled. But for me, it's not just maybe a recognition for my job, but also the teams I worked with, because I work with a
Hmm.
lot of external teams and collaborators and partners, and also the teams here at Popeyes, the retail at ABBA team, the marketing team. But it also feels good to get recognition from the e-commerce scene that
Hmm.
different different e-commerce managers, different head of e-coms, and it feels because I feel like e-commerce is so dynamic and fast paced all the time. So
Hmm.
I mean, I see so many good things every day that I'm inspired by. So getting nominated for the e-commerce, yeah, it was huge for me, I would say.
Well, congratulations. And now I would actually love to talk about, of course, your most recent project, which was ABBA the Museum's web shop. What were your main goals when you were working on this launch, and how did you approach this project with your team?
Yeah, I just started listening to people, like the fans, the people who love ABBA, the people who had experience for a long time with different projects in the ABBA universe. With listening, I mean, like we did a lot of service. I
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of interviews. So just when we started with the brief, I was just like, okay, I have my opinions. These people in different fields had their opinions, but the most important part is the fans here. So I just tried to push that narrative from the start of the project.
I love that. You're really trying to get like in the mind of an ABBA fan and what is going to excite them when they're online looking at like the merch.
Yeah, and just like breaking it down in detail, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is a server for the desktop users. Okay, who's using the desktop versions? Oh, it's this target group. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we do different interviews for these people and surveys. For mobile, okay, we have this target group of fans. Let's talk to them. So also not just being, because I know it's maybe a cliche and everybody says, oh, it's for the
Mm-hmm.
customers, but I truly mean it, trying to be humble in like, we have all this data and this is what
Mm-hmm.
people are saying. This is how they navigate. This is what they're buying. Let's just soak that in and base it on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the freedom I got and the support from my colleagues. So all credit for them that we actually could have this kind of mindset in the project from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. So I learned a lot and I thought that was very fun. That's maybe the first time I did like huge research and collecting data and interviews and user interviews for this project.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you were able to use that to really have great storytelling and this amazing like narrative that's on the site that really matches the feeling that like the ABBA fans out there would kind of hope for or expect. How did you kind of balance this storytelling, but also with like the best functionality when you were creating the web shop? So to kind of cater to the functionality aspect, but keeping this strategic narrative in mind.
Yeah, so I think that goes into what you asked before that I didn't
Mm-hmm.
answer, like with the goals. So
Mm,
because okay, we did need to do a online shopping engaging shopping experience, but also like you said, like how do we get reflect the magic of the museum of
mm-hmm.
a lot of and also bring in like, okay, we have this iconic legacy of ABBA, but you also need to have uh, a really nice ecom store.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think we, like you said, we focused on storytelling
Mm-hmm.
and Scrollytelling, like because that was a lot of research material we got in. Like, there's not enough info and background info and history and story that we can actually tell people. People just love that. They want more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one. The other part was we were not so good at mobile responsiveness and the
Okay.
checkout process. So we did a lot of energy. We had a long checklist to the people that we worked with, Digital Fans and Nord ID. And they say, okay, we can do this. But we really knew we need to focus on getting all the mobile first approach actually number one, the checkout
Absolutely. That
process.
makes a lot of sense. I know that so many e-commerce brands, like they've said, some brands we've had on previously said they saw even up to 70% of their traffic coming in on mobile. So no surprise there that that was something that needed some optimization.
Yeah, and I would say it's even more maybe now for us because
Interesting.
when you get even better experience on
Hmm.
the mobile, it's just like keep on growing, keep on growing, keep on growing.
Absolutely. Well, I love the first point you brought up about this like scrolly telling about how ABBA fans in particular, like your customer group, they really actually value having all this information and all this backstory. And I think that's like a really good example of how that's a tip that works really well in this space because people are going to care about that. Whereas like other e-commerce stores in different niches, maybe people just want like certain facts and things upfront. But interesting that through your research and through your testing, you're able to find that like this is what our target group needs. I'm curious if you have any like examples of pages or elements of the store that you'd like to share that you think really kind of stand apart or have worked really, really well.
Yeah, like I said, like breaking it down, all the details about the products,
Mm-hmm.
giving as much info as possible to the customer. So that's some details and on the product pages, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and also in the cart. So this was like just something that we had in the whole process. Okay, we're gonna have this in the product page.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna use this kind of mindset in the cart also, with people finding, not because before people had to leave and go to a fac or shipping page in order to get all the info that they wanted. So
Mm-hmm.
now we just included that very smoothly in the cart. And then obvious also on the product page to add to cart. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's like when we played around with it, I thought like this is like super obvious. It's like too
Yeah.
obvious. But then it's like it's working so well for us in the testing. So it's like, yeah, let's go. Do you want me to share what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I'd love to see it. I was even taking a peek at some of the product pages as you were mentioning that. And I love that, like, as you click on some of the accordion, like, opens up and says, like, this necklace was worn during, like, a stage show. I think those details you're mentioning are, yeah, would be really cool to show our audience.
So
Amazing. All right. So we're
easily,
looking at the homepage of the ABBA The Museum web shop.
yeah.
Perfect.
So because you also need to understand that we work maybe different from people in our niche called like artist products or artist
Mm-hmm.
merchandise or whatever you want to call it. So a lot of our products need to be in a collection. And what I mean with a collection is, for instance, ABBA Cats,
Mm-hmm.
ABBA Japan Tour, ABBA
Yeah.
Silhouette, ABBA Waterloo, ABBA The Museum, ABBA Gold. So each of these products will have their collection that we actually do storytelling and build something. It actually means something.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go here to the blue cat dress, this is what I meant with the super obvious at the cart.
Yes. Yeah, it's there.
You know, normally, I mean, it's also a matter of taste, but I think it's just so good for us and
Mm-hmm.
for our customers. So what I meant with breaking down the details
Mm-hmm.
is, of course, the size guide. We had
Mm-hmm.
to leave and the product page that was awful before.
Gotcha. But now with the pop-up, it's like stays right there. They can click
Yeah,
out. They're not clicking away.
exactly. And then you will have what I call the collection. So
Mm-hmm.
this brings in the products into a bigger picture, I think. With
Mm-hmm.
the So every product in this collection will have this kind of storytelling. What
It's
is
so, yeah,
ABBA Cat?
beautiful to see the cat like actually being worn by members of ABBA. So if you feel like you're buying this merch, like you understand where it came from, the whole story. I love it.
Exactly. And then you can see other products in that collection.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also explore if you want to know more. So then you get even more storytelling. And here's a picture of the designer of the ABBA Cats, the
Mm-hmm.
original designer of all
Mm-hmm.
the stage outfits that had the cat branding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a little something for you and
Yeah.
how we thought about the collection site page and the product page.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's really great to see like in action what that storytelling looks like. And I think for anyone listening in, definitely check out their web store afterwards because just on literally any page you clicked on, there was some storytelling element or narrative. And I think that's something that could inspire a lot of other brands out there that maybe if you're thinking of trying to incorporate a storytelling approach, if that will work well with your customers, there might be some inspiration here on tactics you could try.
Yeah, I would love to get your feedback and thoughts and ideas on this. So, guys, please check it out and let me know.
Absolutely. So you already explained a little bit about how you've decided to go more for collections because it really makes sense for a brand, for your brand in this space. Could you explain a little bit more about like why is this working really well for the structure for ABBA the Museum's web shop versus like other artist merchandise web shops?
Oh, I think that's a very great and hard question, but
Hmm.
I think what we want to bring together is a blend between the e-commerce, the storytelling, the
Hmm.
nostalgia. So it's not. I feel when I did a lot of looked at a lot of the biggest music brands in the world,
Hmm.
I feel that it's just like it's an e-com to just buy merchandise.
Hmm.
So you have the first page, you will just have the products. It doesn't give it's not an extension like I feel that we are of ABBA's legacy and also the museum experience that we talked about. And how do you do that is to bring the storytelling, is to actually have products that mean something from the museum with the original designers, with what they actually wore in Japan or North America tour, that actually has some kind of realness to it as well.
Gotcha. So it's also the strategy of what you're selling because it sounds like every piece is very much curated to continue this experience, whether you're an ABBA fan just shopping at home or you've been to the museum and now it really feels like you saw it here, like you have the. I love that. It's how everything is very connected. I think that's a good differentiation as well from your saying if it's like different than if you just saw an artist on tour and then there's just like a t-shirt you got with their name on it. Like this is actually something that has this connection.
Yeah, because exactly like you're saying, like you need to be to build like the universe, because for fans you have the strongest brand in the world, but
Hmm.
I don't feel like people use that. So I mean, I would love to do the same for Travis Scott or Taylor Swift, to because you have so much storytelling. You have such a big universe to just expand and take it online, and also reflect that in your e-commerce and retail.
Absolutely. Well, if anyone out there has connections to any of these artists, I think like just let them listen to this podcast. I think
Call
his
me.
yeah, give him a call. I think you can see from ABBA the Museum store, he maybe has an idea or two what he's talking about with this storytelling element. Well, also I know that you use like Shopify for ABBA the Museum's web store. I know Shopify provides a lot of flexibility, but there's also the ability to overwhelm users with too much information. How did you balance like showcasing ABBA's story and the products and the identity together without having a too cluttered experience?
That's a really good question. I mean, we did a lot of customization actually for this one. So I go back to the how important it is to have like a very strong brief and to actually know what you want when you go out to consultants and agencies
Mm-hmm.
and other people. So I would say, what was your question again?
Yeah, like how did you balance all of these different elements? Because when I look at the design, like it looks very clean, it looks very like not too cluttered, but I know that it can be difficult because there's obviously like a lot of things you could put like on a product page. So how did you kind of balance that structure when you were designing the web shop?
It was basically me between the fighting UX team and the design team, like it usually is, and
Hmm.
then just trying to get them along. No, but I just say like I had a really good team, so shout out to
Hmm.
them, and who also were very humble. And I thought we were also doing like we wanted to have this black, white, minimalist, but also showcasing the product, letting the because the products are normally quite extravagant, like ABBA, they're colorful,
Hmm.
so they pop really well with this like whiter and black design, but also like letting that every decision in this process being guided by the balance between form and function, like you said, like keeping the visuals engaging but ensuring the site remains fast and easy, you know?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I just feel like we had a great team that could make these decisions very, very humble.
I love that. It, of course, always takes a great team to bring ideas together. And now that you mentioned it, I hadn't really noticed the contrast between the color and then the black and white design of the site. But now it's quite obvious indeed. Like that's why when I look at the page, it's the product that's popping out first because it's like the most colorful element on any page on like the site.
Yeah, great,
So interesting.
great
I
that you
think
like it.
that's a great tip, a great thing to think about for other people who are thinking about like maybe in the brainstorming process of designing their site. Now that you've had the site running and you've had your improvements like up and live for a little bit of time, I'm curious if you've done any like a CRO testing to optimize anything further for conversions or for a better experience. Are there any like tweaks you've made recently that you've noticed have had like a nice impact?
Yeah, I'm actually working on how to solve, because I mean Black Friday is
Mm-hmm.
coming up tomorrow, right? So you
Yes.
and me are both busy with uh, so been tweaking how to show the discounted price actually in the best way.
Okay. Interesting. Have you had any winner yet? Or will this be something maybe you'll see what happens after this holiday season?
Yeah, I'm gonna launch in 2-3 hours, so I'm
Okay.
still working on it, but I feel it's more basically like, should it be red? Should it be in the left or right corner? How should we
Mm-hmm.
display it? Because, like you said, if you're going with black and white in design
Mm-hmm.
and the fan-centric design principle, when I'm tweaking this kind of new campaigns, I need to be very aware of that. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing a big red discounted price all over, that's gonna mix. That's gonna do a lot, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
bringing a very strong color in, for instance. So this kind of questions I've been working with for the past month, how to solve. So that would be a test for Black Friday and Cyber Monday actually, to see how that works.
Interesting.
I would say we very happy with the upsell
Mm-hmm.
we're doing. I tweaked that a bit, like it's customized from what you like and what you view. That I tweaked.
Gotcha. Sounds like very personalized. Like I think that's what's been key for a lot of brands and like their upsells or cross sells. Like if you can really get that based on the shopping behavior, you have a lot higher chance that someone might continue to increase that AOV.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. What else? One thing, I'm working with the bundle issue and how we
Mm-hmm.
will launch that next year, and how
All
that would
right.
look and how to package that in the best
Mm-hmm.
way. I know a lot of people are using that as well.
Absolutely. We've had a couple bundle experts come on the show before and have had lots of different advice. So it seems like brands have a lot of testing that they can do to see what sort of bundle offer they can make. I know, I think a couple episodes ago, we had someone come on who said that he even saw some brands just have a bundle just to have products together, but like no discount. And it was already like increasing the order value just because then all the things you want are in one spot. So I'm sure we'll have to do maybe a little update in the show notes once we have some of these ideas you're just starting to tweak and go live, little update on what did happen afterwards.
Yeah, and I've listened to all of your bundle episodes. I think
Love it.
that was great.
Okay.
And for us, it's like it's so perfect because we have four
Mm-hmm.
members of ABBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually what people also want to pair with, or you want the power women, you want Anfrid and you want Agneta, or you want Ben and Björn, and you can just do a lot of fun combinations also in different
Yeah.
bundles here.
I love that. The full like ABBA ABBA
Yeah,
bundle. That sounds amazing. Like I would buy that. Sounds like the
perfect.
dream if you're like a true fan. Like get something from everyone. I think that's a bringing storytelling in again to your approach, which seems to be already caked in every element of the store.
Yes, you can that. You can base it on products. You got the four mugs, you got the four
Mm-hmm.
magnets, or the eight different
Mm-hmm.
socks. Or yeah, so feels like the options are endless here for the bundle.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about like how you envisioned a store, how it came to life. I'm curious because, of course, now we've talked about a lot of like the positives, but every project has its challenges that have to be overcome. What was like some of the biggest hurdles you faced when bringing this store to life, and how did you overcome it?
I think also the some of the biggest hurdles was also like, because now I said the iconic history is
Mm-hmm.
such a opportunity, but it can
Mm.
also be like, oh, are we doing this wrong? It can fall heavy on your shoulders. um, but also I would say,
But that's already a great example, I think, of how like such a legacy can be such a blessing and a curse because clearly you've mined lots of great ideas from this iconic story. But I can imagine the pressure of disappointing the fans or disrepresenting the legacy. I can imagine like you had to be really careful with your team, I'm sure, thinking about how to represent this in a way that feels authentic.
but I would also say, because it's such a global fan base, it's just a global site for us. So that would also like, okay, how is this accessible and good for UK, or is that
Hmm.
working the same in New Zealand or Spain? So bringing all this together and find a middle way, okay, that works here and also here.
Hmm.
So it's always when, I mean, we started off with doing the site in Swedish, English,
Hmm.
and German. So I would say that's always a hassle with the multi-language and the
Gotcha.
multi-currency feature, and when you want to be that kind of global.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. I think like that localization, globalization of your shop, that makes a lot of sense for something that people could be shopping from anywhere with all the fans around the world that like a artist group would have.
yeah, and also just for me being the from an e-commerce manager perspective, like
Hmm.
managing all the different stakeholders in this kind of project, and
Hmm.
meeting their expectations. So
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing some of the challenges. I'm sure there'll be people listening in who might be able to relate with stakeholder management or trying to get the authentic storytelling balanced correctly. Well, I'm sure I could chat with you for a whole another half hour, but unfortunately, we're getting near the end of our episode. But I cannot let you leave without something I like to call our click-worthy tip segment. So this is click to buy. So I always like to ask my guests for one quick tip based on lessons you've learned in your career. So, Tobias, for e commerce brands listening in who are working on improving their Shopify store, what's one piece of advice you'd give them to make their web shop more engaging and effective?
yeah, I would go back to my roots in journalism and making movies and TVs, and be just like, try to focus on the storytelling within your
Mm-hmm.
product pages. Like, it's not just about showcasing your product. Like, try to, and now you have such a great tools, you don't have to come up with everything. You have all the AI tools to actually be creative for you. Like, so how do you create the emotional connection with your audience? Like, how share the story behind the product, what inspired
Mm-hmm.
it, how ties it to your brand's heritage or your collection, or why it's special, like why should I buy it? Not just
Mm-hmm.
showcase and show it in a good way. Like, have some intriguing high quality visuals, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that would be my, like, focus on the storytelling with your product page.
I love that. Well, for anyone listening in, I think you've gotten plenty of ideas already in this episode on how you can think about storytelling it when it comes to your web design. Tobias, it was such a pleasure to speak with you. For anyone who's listening in who might want to learn more about you or what you do, where's the best place to find you online?
I would say on LinkedIn.
All right, we'll make sure that we link.
Or if you like flowers and plants, you can check out my account on Instagram, but I would say LinkedIn for professional use.
All right. We'll be sure to link that in our show notes. So if anyone's listening and you want to get more tips from Tobias, and we'll also be sure to link the web shop if anyone wants to check that out as well. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Click to Buy. Thanks again, Tobias, for sharing all of your advice on how to use storytelling to create ABBA the Museum's web shop. Once again, I'm your host, Becca Anderson from Instant Page Builder. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, share it with all the fellow e-commerce enthusiasts in your network. And until next time, keep turning those clicks into buys.